Welcome to Roll to Hit Gaming's Impressions. Thank you for joining us. Let's head into the game room for your Roll to Hit Gaming Impressions host.
Welcome back. I'm Lucas from Roll to Hit Gaming, and today we'll take a look at Ophidian 2360. In this 2-to-4 player combat style card game published by Hack and Slash Games, players control teams of futuristic gladiators pitted in battle against one another. Let's take a look. What you see here are two of the Ophidian 2360 Survival of the Fittest challenge sets. Each set contains 2 starter decks, and that'll be enough to get you started playing Ophidian 2360. This one includes the Mental Block and the Warrior's Resolve decks, and this one includes the Machine deck and the Biohazard deck. Let's look at these decks a little closer. This is the Biohazard deck, and each deck comes with a double-sided rules reference, cards to track your cheer and your resources, and then each of these decks has a reinforcement gladiator. And then there are a series of gladiators in each one. Now all of your gladiators start on level 1, as you can see here, and then when you level them up, they flip to the other side, and then if you level them up to level 3, you can see with our Pandemica example, there's a separate card for that you would replace, and each time you level them up, their abilities change a little bit, as do their stats at the bottom. We'll talk about all of that when we talk about how to play. And there are a number of gladiators included in each deck. Then you get to the cards included in each deck. There are basically 3 types. There are pumps, minions, and quick hits. And you'll see the types up here. Pumps are attached to characters, typically your gladiators, and they'll provide some kind of boost or special ability to that character. These remain attached to that character until they leave play. Quick hits are play then discard. They typically have an effect which takes place immediately, then you discard the card and move on. Minions give you additional attackers, and they also have abilities, and these remain in play until they're destroyed. As you can see, each set has quite a number of cards, and we'll put some stills up on the screen so you can see the artistic design of the game. Let's take a look at a couple additional buys for Ophidian 2360. Note that these would be in addition to your purchase of a starter set, which contains 2 decks. When a gladiator takes more damage than their rage threshold, they begin to rage. You can use these acrylic add-on purchases to mark a raging gladiator. We'll talk about how raging works in just a bit. There are also 2 full art designs for playmats for your games of Ophidian. These can be used to replace your resource tracking, your cheer tracking charts, also provides a victory point chart, action and supply fields, and then references for what all of the symbols in Ophidian mean. These are nice, quality neoprene playmats with fantastic art, and they're an awesome game aid. All the details on the different iconography in Ophidian are represented here. This is the first of 2 designs, and this is the other design. As you can see, all of the same detail, simply a different artistic print. These mats are absolutely gorgeous. Let's take a quick look at how you set up and play Ophidian 2360. We'll use the playmat to show you how to set up for a game of Ophidian. If you don't have the playmats, you'll want to use the resource and cheer tracking cards included with your starter decks. Reference the quick start guide for all the information you'll need to set up and play. Each player can choose up to 10 points worth of gladiators. All of these gladiators must be level 1. You'll notice the victory point cost in the corner, and this tells you how many points each gladiator is worth. This gladiator is worth 1. Adulor Apoc is worth 3, for a total of 4. Legion is worth 4, putting our total at 8. And the Hunter is worth 3, which puts us at 11. However, you'll notice it has a patron discount of 1, which means you can subtract that number from their starting value, making them a 2, and giving us 10 points of starting gladiators. Place your level 3 and 4 gladiators as well as your reinforcement gladiator in the gladiator stack. Gather and shuffle your deck and place it in the strategy deck space. Place markers on the 0 victory point space and the 0 cheer space. Your starting resources is equal to 10 plus the wave or turn that you're in. Therefore, to begin the game, turn 1 would give us 11 starting resources. Each player draws 7 cards plus 2 and examines their starting hand. Players must choose 2 of those cards to place on the bottom of their strategy deck. Randomly determine the player that will begin the game with the momentum. That player begins by choosing where to place his gladiators, either in the action field or in the supply field. Gladiators placed in the supply field must first advance to the action field in order to be able to attack. Gladiators in the action field can attack without needing to advance. Gladiators in the same field may intercept damage intended for another gladiator in that same field. Let's say the Hunter was being attacked. Legion could step in and take the damage. This would please the crowd, and rather than your opponent gaining a cheer, you would. Gladiators in the supply field can also be attacked, and in this case, gladiators in the action field can protect and take the damage rather than the damage being placed on the gladiator in the supply field. Once the start player has placed their gladiators, play proceeds clockwise, and once all gladiators have been placed, you're ready to begin playing Ophidian. In Ophidian, the player with momentum continues to take action until they lose that momentum. Actions could be advancing from the supply field to the action field, retreating from the action field to the supply field, which will set or tap your character. You can set a character in the action field to attack an opposing gladiator or minion. You can use an ability listed on a card, and you can play pump, minion, or quick action cards from your hand. Each action has an associated momentum value. This is either a plus, a negative, a question mark, in which case those cards will explain which type of momentum it is, or an R, which is a response action. You can continue taking actions as the active player until you play a negative action. Play proceeds until one player has either destroyed all of his opponent's gladiators, gained 12 victory points during the breather step, or they've achieved 15 cheer. Let's reset our gladiators, and then we'll play a sample to show you how this works. Let's say I began my first turn by playing a Mega Ram Boost Pump. Each card has a resource cost and then a required discipline. Disciplines will be found on your gladiator cards. Each gladiator will have a series of disciplines listed across the top of their card and a value. Each separate discipline symbol on a card requires a separate discipline symbol from a different gladiator. For Mega Ram Boost, we needed a 1 tech, which Legion has. Once we've paid our 1 resource, we can place this card on a gladiator, and the text may have some kind of restriction. For example, plays only on constructs or tech gladiators. Legion is a tech gladiator, and we'll place that card, permanently affixing it to him. I'll now gain +1 hand size. Notice the momentum symbol at the top of the card. It's a plus sign, so I can continue taking actions. Players continue playing cards, taking actions, making attacks until they either pass or encounter a negative momentum. You'll notice on your reference card at the bottom there's an action called Roar. Simply put, when a player takes a positive action, an opponent can spend 1 cheer in order to change that to a negative action, therefore shifting the momentum to themselves. Let's take a look at how attacking works. Each gladiator has a red health value. This shows how many damage they can take before they're destroyed. Gladiators also have a rage value. If a gladiator has a number of damage equal to or greater than that rage value, place a rage token on that gladiator. Rage simply means that when that gladiator is attacked, it deals 1 damage to the attacker, and anytime that gladiator is attacked, he unsets. Gladiators also have a damage value represented in yellow. This is the amount of damage that they'll do to the opposing gladiators when they attack. Mark this damage with dice, coins, or some other type of token. In order to attack, a gladiator must set and choose their target gladiator in their opponent's action or supply field. They will damage that gladiator based on their attack value and reference any of their abilities. When you attack, you move your cheer marker 1 space forward. The crowd really loves a good battle. Your opponent will have the option to intercept or protect based on the positioning of their gladiators, and the final target will end up taking the damage dealt. If they intercept, they'll gain a cheer instead of you. However, the same is not true for protecting. Intercepting represents a gladiator jumping in front of the blow and heroically taking that damage. That really pleases the crowd. I suppose protecting another gladiator isn't quite as pleasing. Once a player plays a negative action, like most minion cards, play will proceed to their opponent, and they'll take actions until they take a negative action. This happens until all players pass. Once this happens, players proceed to the breather phase. You'll determine momentum by calculating who has the most damage on their gladiators, including those which have been slain. All of your cards will unset, and you'll gain resources equal to 10 plus the wave number. In turn 2, you would have 12 starting resources. Players will discard as many cards as they choose, and then draw up to their starting hand value +2 and choose 2 of those cards to place on the bottom of their deck. Players would now pay any maintenance cost listed in the lower left-hand corner of cards. Note that this symbol indicates this card is not maintainable and would be discarded. Then each player will have the opportunity to promote one of their gladiators. This simply means turning a gladiator from one side to the other up 1 level. Note that their abilities and their stats will be altered, and they'll gain more or additional disciplines. This will allow you to play higher level cards from your hand. Players may then rearrange their gladiators in any order they wish before beginning the next round. Each slain gladiator will provide victory points to their opponent based on the victory point cost in the corner. Slain gladiators are placed in a player's funeral pyre, and victory points are given to your opponent. During the breather phase, if any player has 12 points, the game ends. At any time, if a player has 15 cheer, they've won and their opponent is defeated. If a player needs to draw a card from their deck and cannot, they lose the game. Additionally, at the end of the 4th round, whoever has the most victory points is declared the winner. If there's a tie, play additional rounds, checking victory points at the end of each round until a clear winner is determined. Obviously, there are many rules that we can't cover during this review. However, your quick start guide, as well as FAQ available online, should help you get into and playing Ophidian. Hopefully, this quick overview gave you an idea of how the game plays. Let's go back up top, and I'll give you my thoughts on Ophidian 2360. Straight away, this is a great theme for a combat card game. I love the idea of my team of futuristic gladiators pitted against yours, and the artistic choices made here really match this theme. The card art is beautiful, and the add-on playmats are out of this world gorgeous. As far as gameplay goes, there are some really interesting design ideas in this one. The cheer tracker, for example, it really integrates well with this theme. The more attacks or heroic interceptions you make along the way, the more you get the crowd on your side. And while this can ultimately help you win the game, it will also give you the ability to play certain effects during the game, because as the player with the most cheer, you become the fan favorite. I love when a game and a mechanic line up with the theme as well as this one does. I like the momentum system as well. Basically, as long as you keep pushing forward and pleasing the crowd, you keep acting. But if you do something like heal or bring in minions that bore them, the play moves to your opponent. This mechanic keeps you engaged the entire game. It's definitely an interesting mechanic for this card game. Taking your resources from a land-in-deck type system to a set number of resources each turn also works well here. You can gain benefits to these resources as you play, and it takes some of the swingy out that other card games seem to suffer from, because you aren't constantly and completely dependent on drawing the right set of cards just to be able to play the other cards in your deck. Using these resources to pay for your card plays, as well as a very intriguing maintenance system on some of your remains in play cards, leaves you with some really nice choices to make in this game. The various disciplines that gladiators have, and those being prerequisites to playing cards, is an intriguing idea. The more powerful a gladiator is, the better cards you'll be able to play. Now, this is great until they start to die. At the end of each turn, you can promote one gladiator a single level, which basically means that in most games, you're only going to be able to make 4 promotions. We found ourselves needing to promote the same gladiator in order to be able to play those bigger cards. And when those gladiators died, everything just kind of fell apart. One of the big problems we noticed was every time you get behind, you kind of stay that way until your inevitable loss. Now, if this game were 20 to 30 minutes, as the box indicates, that might not be such a big deal, but all of our play times were in excess of an hour, sometimes even pushing an hour and a half. Basically, having lost 25 minutes into a 60 to 90 minute game leaves you frustrated and frankly not having much fun just waiting for it to end. There's a lot going on in Ophidian, and there are a ton of actions you can take. Those on your cards, those on your gladiators, those on your minions once you start getting those into play. Combine that with a bit of an iconography learning curve, and this game really throws a lot at you up front. Now, you will eventually start to figure this out, and your games will play easier, but it really makes it feel like this game is simply trying to accomplish too much. For example, the 2 different zones your gladiators can occupy, which didn't really add up to anything much other than enabling the protect and retreat mechanics, and it does that in a clunky way. An action is to advance your gladiator from the supply to the action field, and then what? It literally only means that you slide your card forward. I feel like this game wants to be different than what's out there, and I certainly respect that, but along the way, it sacrificed the quick, hard-hitting, back-and-forth combat card game that I was expecting based on this theme. Now, Ophidian is an expandable card game, and it will be really interesting to see where this one is once it evolves to a more mature card set, because, like I said, there are a lot of really interesting ideas here. And if this seems interesting to you, you should pick up a starter and give this one a try. Unfortunately, it just falls flat for me, so I'm going to give Ophidian 2360 a die rating of D6. There's just too much going on here to make this one fun and engaging enough to compete in a crowded card game field for me. If you found this review helpful, Drop a like on this video and subscribe to our channel for more content. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Lucas, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining Roll to Hit Gaming to see and hear our impressions of this game. Details of our dice rating system can be seen on your screen now. If you liked what you saw and want to see more, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Find us on Facebook and Twitter. Join in the conversation in the comments below.